I'm going to teach sort of my tech study towards the end, but now we have the opportunity to hear from a couple of folks who have chose Judaism as adults as part of our community. And as Rabbi Egger mentioned, Shavuot is this reenactment of that moment of revelation, the moment of the Jewish people receiving Torah. And so I thought it would be a really beautiful opportunity to share the stories of folks in our community who went through that same experience in a lot of ways, who chose Torah, who maybe weren't born and raised into it, but chose it, found a connection with it. And after we have the chance to hear from them, I'll teach a little bit about the book of Ruth. And the book of Ruth deals with a lot of these same themes, and it teaches us the story of someone who also chose to come into this community. And I think it has a lot to teach all of us. One of the many blessings of learning, and one of the things that we're taught from the Mishnah, one of our ancient texts, is that a wise person is one who learns from everyone. And I think we all have the opportunity to be students. We all have the opportunity to be teachers. And so I'm really excited for the opportunity to be able to learn from folks in our community. And you'll notice in your Bikkurim booklets, there are the written statements or reflections or essays from many different people throughout our community who have chosen. And we have a couple here that are going to share their pieces with us. But I encourage you to take these home with you, to read through them. They're really, really powerful stories, really, really powerful experiences. And I hope that you as well as me, I had the amazing experience of being able to meet a lot of these people when I came here last year, and they have taught me a lot, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And so I wanted to have the opportunity to share that with everyone. So I'd like to first invite up Christine, who's going to share their reflection with us this evening.
Hello, everyone. Before I chose Judaism, I was raised Catholic. By all appearances, I was a good Catholic child. I obediently went through all the rites of passage: baptism, First Communion, confirmation. I observed Lent, I volunteered, I ushered, I went to Mass, I prayed every night. But under the surface, it all felt a little hollow. As I moved through high school, the hollow feeling grew. While I still believed in God, I had doubts about the things I was expected to believe, and I felt like I didn't have the space to ask questions. I mostly kept my doubts to myself, and I quietly drifted away from my religion. When I got to college, I formally broke away from my Catholicism after the death of my devout uncle and grandfather. After they passed away, I realized that I practiced this faith for the benefit of my family, not because I truly believed. When I was in graduate school, I researched comic book history for my own amusement and learned about the Jewish artists who created the superhero genre as we know it today. I've loved superheroes my whole life, but it wasn't until college that I took the time to understand why I was drawn to these stories. It all became clear when I picked up books like Superman is Jewish: How Comic Book Heroes Came to Serve Truth, Justice, and the Jewish American Way by Harry Brode, From Krakow to Krypton, Jews and Comics by Ari Kaplan, and Up and Oive: How Jewish History, Culture, and Values Shape the Comic Book Superhero by Simcha Weinstein. These books introduced me to concepts that made sense to me in a way that my Catholic upbringing didn't. The idea that resonated with me the most was the concept of tikkun olam, the concept of taking responsibility for the state of the world as it is and making it a better place. From there, I started studying different books with Rabbi Morantz, a friend of my mother's from high school. Through our shared study, I learned about history, philosophy, anti-Semitism, and culture. He also introduced me to Congregation Kol Ami, a community where I felt welcome and safe. After years of studying and being part of this congregation, I took the final steps and finally converted on August 13th, 2022. I am incredibly grateful that I took the time to make this commitment to my adopted faith and community. Being Jewish has made me feel more like myself. It's not that I felt empty without religion, it's that being Jewish allows me to be the person I want to be, a person who strives to create a better world, a person who commits to doing what is right and caring for people no matter how difficult it is, a person who constantly strives to educate themselves through the sacred act of communal studying, and most of all, it's helped me become the type of person who is more active in my communities and spends more time with the people I care about. Thank you for inviting me to the celebration and accepting me as part of your community. Hag Sameach.
Yeah, Chag Sameach. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you. Yasher Koach. All right, and next we have Travis Terry. If you can join me up at the bima. I'm going to move the block here for you. Watch your step.
Chag Sameach, everyone. Very nice to see all your faces. If you had told me 10 years ago that I would convert to Judaism, I would have dismissed the idea as unlikely at best. Although my best friend was Jewish, and I had known many people that were Jews, and I admired and supported the Jewish people, it didn't occur to me that I would become part of that people. My best friend is Jewish, as I said. Over the years, he's taught me many things about being Jewish through his willingness to share memories of his family and their history. I would occasionally attend Friday night services with him at Kol Ami for events like his parents' yahrzeits and High Holy Days. I listened to Rabbi Ager give her sermons and nodded along with her when she spoke words of wisdom, as she so often does. I remember when Nazis marched in protest in Charlottesville in 2017, the only place I wanted to be was in temple, so I could hear what the rabbi would say, how we would find comfort despite our collective fear, and perhaps find a way to fight back. She did not disappoint. Rabbi Ager greeted me many times when I would visit the temple, always by my name and with a welcoming warmth that disarmed me. It didn't take her too long until she began greeting me by saying, "Welcome home." The first couple times I was a bit astounded, and I wasn't quite sure that she was talking to me. After all, I'm the shy, bald-headed Goyish guy standing in the corner who doesn't know Kiddush from a latke. It also didn't take long until welcome home became an affirmation of something I was already feeling, a sense of belonging and welcome that I hadn't felt from a spiritual community in a very long time. And we turn the page. Yeah, there we go. One Shabbat, during the individual silent prayer portion of the services, I heard this deep gong-like sound in my heart and my soul. It was like the divine force of the universe was telling me to pay attention. This is important. I didn't quite know what to do with that demand or what it would mean, but I began to pay attention. A short time later, I heard that the temple was teaching an Intro to Judaism class. It felt important, so I signed up without a second thought, as I was listening. The class was a real gift to my soul and added so much to my oft-times wandering lifetime journey to find God. I learned many factual things that I didn't know, such as the history of the Jewish people, some of the traditions and rituals, and some of the principles that Judaism is founded on. I also had some profound mystical experiences that are so personal, I kind of hesitate to share them. After all, I really don't want to feel like the crackpot, bald-headed Goyish guy standing in the corner, even though I now know the difference between a Kiddush and a latke. Latkes are yummy. One of these experiences was when I learned about the theophany of Sinai that the rabbi spoke of earlier, which theorizes that all Jews, past, present, and future, were present at Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. To this day, I can't explain how powerful learning about that was for me. I can't explain how, but in that instant, I remembered being there. It was so real. It felt like something I was experiencing in the here and now. It was something like out of a science fiction story or something. It was very vivid. The experience was confusing, awe-inspiring, and thrilling, but talking about it sometimes feels like I'm supposed to be giving a speech in my underwear, a revelation of my soul so profound that it's difficult to share, except with the most intimate of families. There are two basic concepts that convinced me I could find a home in Judaism. The first is this idea that Jews question everything. There's no one right answer. There's little dogma. I find great freedom and comfort in being able to question the Torah, our sacred literature, our mystics, and our teachers. The phrase, on the other hand, was familiar to me long before I converted. I mean, the Talmud is a book containing the arguments of rabbis about our faith. How awesome is that? The second concept, and the one that solidified my desire to convert to Judaism, was that of tikkun olam. When I heard that built into Judaism was a mitzvah to repair the world, That gong that had been gently going off in my soul became a carillon of bells. I listened, and those bells told me that Judaism was home for me. Maybe through Judaism, I too could help to repair this beautiful but broken world we live in, something that speaks to the deepest desires of my soul. The next part of my spiritual journey took a bit of time. It took some reconciliation with my past and the realization that the spiritual lessons I had learned prior to converting were not invalid. As a matter of fact, they enriched my Jewish experience and continue to do so. There was plenty of study, some of it very pleasant, some of it confusing. I can tell you that watching Yentl and Fiddler on the Roof after learning about the Jewish people is a profoundly different experience from watching those films before learning about the Jewish people. As to the confusing part of study, thank God for rabbis that are patient and kind and willing to explain things to me. And I thank God for a mind and heart that is able to puzzle it all out and find my place in it, even if the answers take a very long time to find. I must say I'm still not completely comfortable with all the traditions and rituals, mostly because many of them seem to be new to me, and I'm deathly afraid of doing it all wrong. I often think I should know more than I do, but I've always been somewhat of an overachiever. Let me just say that the Kiddush prayer in Hebrew is really long. And despite having sung it almost every Shabbat for the past couple of years, I still don't know it by heart. Hopefully that does not make me a bad Jew. On the positive side of things, I finally know the Shabbat candle blessing both Hebrew and English, so yay me. Progress, not perfection, as they say. While I have a lot more to learn, and I'm very eager to learn it, I feel Jewish in my soul and in my heart where one should feel that identity. I feel like I belong. It's not always easy. It's one thing to witness anti-Semitism from the outside. It's quite another when one is part of the people that is the target of that much hatred. This is especially true in this day and age when hatred and intolerance of Jews seems to be so prevalent in the world. Fear manifests itself in me in small ways, like when deciding about whether I should wear my kippah or not. Truthfully, I would wear it 95% of the time as a symbol of the joy I feel of being Jewish. I worry that it puts a target on my back. I hate that I worry about that, but I do. I'm certainly no stranger to dealing with hatred from the outside world. Being a gay man and growing up in a profoundly homophobic society gave me the gift of having some intimate knowledge of that type of fear and how to process it and to make friends with it. Despite this, my joy and sense of belonging far outweigh any of the negatives of being Jewish in an anti-Semitic world. I would convert to Judaism 1,000 times. I would light 1,000,000 Shabbat candles, sing 1,000,000 songs, say 1,000,000 prayers, and thank God 1,000,000 times for the blessings of being brought into and accepted by the Jewish people. I will walk beside you for 1,000,000 lifetimes because I too am Jewish. Thank you for welcoming me home.
Thank you so much. Wow, thank you so much, Travis. Thank you so much, Christine. Yeah, I have no words. I have no words. Thank you for sharing so openly. It's not an easy thing to share something so personal with so many different people, and I just want to congratulate you and commend you on being open with us. And so thank you very much. And thank you to all those who contributed to our Bikkurim. I encourage you and you joining us online to read through the other stories as well, because they each have their own personal journey and it's worth learning from. Absolutely.